Hi, everyone. Welcome to week two. I hope you had a great week. We didn't have any time in between spring one and spring two, so I hope the relatively light load last week was helpful. Although there was not a lot of writing, we did have some reading to do. We started with exploring the arts education framework and began our dive into some teaching resources in arts education. Also, last week we all introduced ourselves in the discussion and had our first journal entry. There were 5 questions in the journal. How do the arts serve as a powerful means of communication in today's multimedia society? How can arts education foster divergent thinking in students? It also asks you to provide examples of how arts education can foster community and cultural development. Went on to ask, how do the California art standards define and promote artistic literacy among students? And lastly, how does the arts framework ensure that arts education is accessible to all students, including those with diverse needs and backgrounds? So that was week one. Let's go ahead and jump right into week two. So, as always, the navigation menu in our course in Brightspace has all of the assignments for each week. I'll be posting a video each week going over the week's content, due dates, any announcements for the coming week, and any reflections on the previous week's learning. When you click on the week's overview, it will display the topics to be covered for the week. This week, our focus is inquiry-based learning, history and social science, and civics education. We will have a list of all the readings in the Relearning Resources tab. We'll have a discussion this week, no journal. Again, initial post due by Wednesday, 2 peer responses due by Sunday, and our weekly exit ticket. So in the Learning Resources tab, so for this week, we're going to jump from the arts framework into the history social science framework. Um, Chapter 1, which is the introduction. The next piece of reading, it's the C3 framework, college, career, and civic life. I'll touch on that a little bit in the next slide. Pages 5 through 7, and then 11 through 21. Then there is another piece on powerful teaching and learning in social science. I'm also going to briefly touch on some of the other learning resources that are in there. As always, it's always a good idea to bookmark those so that you can return to them later on in the course or when you find resources that are going to be helpful for your own practice. Chapter 1 of the History Social Science Framework introduces the framework as a guiding document for educators. Um, in addition, curriculum developers and other stakeholders may find this of interest in designing, implementing, and maintaining a coherent history and social science program. It emphasizes the importance of integrating content knowledge with critical thinking, literacy development, and civic engagement. So going beyond memorization of key facts, names, dates, and places, but really emphasizing the importance of critical thinking and literacy. It also recognizes the diversity of California. And what I touched on just a minute ago, the instructional shifts to critical thinking and inquiry based learning. And then we'll also be doing some work on the collaborative teaching process across disciplines: history, social science, and language arts, history and science, history and the arts, history and math, history and any other core subjects. The College, Career, and Civic Life C3 framework for social studies is a national guidance document, not specific only for California. It's really designed to strengthen K-12 social studies education by preparing students for informed participation in college, careers, and democratic civic life. It's really centered on this arc of inquiry. The framework emphasizes asking compelling questions, applying disciplinary concepts from civics, economics, geography, and history, evaluating sources using evidence, communicating conclusions while taking informed actions. So it's a national document. So rather than prescribing specific content, it really just promotes this inquiry-based approach to teaching and learning and instruction, asking teachers, educators to integrate this disciplinary thinking with civic engagement. The goal helps students develop, the knowledge, skills, and really dispositions needed to analyze complex social issues. Also, to give them the tools to think critically and to participate as citizens in this really diverse and interconnected world. One of the other key pieces in the learning resources is the title is "What's the Buzz?" It's a case study on how one school implemented the C3 framework. The purpose it describes, it's a Holden Elementary School. It's a K-5 school, and they implemented the C3 framework to support their overall inquiry-based learning in social studies. This involved teachers and administrators intentionally shifting towards more student-driven questioning and investigation to really deepen engagement in learning. So rather than, let's say it's fifth grade U.S. history and they're exploring the 13 colonies, rather than what were the major agricultural products in the South, it could be describe how the geography landscape contributed to the growth of agriculture in the South, which is a lot different than just naming cotton and tobacco. You talk about the rich fertile plains, the access to river, the access to transportation resources, the better soil than in the north. It wasn't rocky. So really more inquiry and questioning based rather than, so it's that shift away from merely facts and knowledge. So another document, it's really a website on National Council for Social Studies. So, at the core of social studies education is this goal of ours to prepare the next generation to be informed, active, responsible members of their communities in this interconnected global society. So when you go to the page, it's really going to describe how our students, young people, should really appreciate the past and understand the present, and how they can make a positive impact on the future. Another emphasis is that effective social studies teaching, it promotes this rigorous, research-based, hands-on approaches for students to develop their knowledge and understanding, strengthen their skills for engaging in the democratic process. You could tell I'm a social studies teacher. Cultivate this vision for creating a world that allows them to achieve their life and career goals and aspirations. So the other two are documents. This one is a website. So the next resource I want to point out, it's a short 4-minute YouTube video on inquiry-based learning and developing student-driven questions. So in this video, we'll see how units of study are developed through students' questions in this inquiry-based style of teaching and learning. So then we have our weekly discussion. Last week it was a short discussion introducing ourselves. Again, when responding to your peers, I appreciate in some of your first week one posts, you're being supportive, sometimes asking questions about, oh, that's interesting, tell me more. So asking probing questions or clarifying questions is helpful. Share an insight from having read one of your colleagues, classmates, peers post. Um, we talked about offering support. Feel free, you can challenge a position, validate an idea. Think of these discussions as if we were having a real-time discussion in a on-ground, in-person class, where there can be debate, questions. So the writing should feel more like a discussion rather than a strictly academic endeavor. The first question: how can the integration of inquiry-based critical thinking skills, literacy development, and citizenship education within the history social science framework and the C3 framework address the diverse needs of California student population? So I may start with something talking about however many million of students we have in K-12, the number of English learners, the growing Latino population, the differing needs of small urban, suburban schools or rural schools versus urban schools, elementary school districts, high school districts, K-12 unified districts, different parts of the state, depending on schools. The education is becoming more and more politicized. So we would just start the discussion with an overall, if we were a live in-person discussion, we would start with just some facts, and I would kind of break it down for you. And then we break into the discussion. So there will be an urge, a need, temptation to cite a lot of sources and make this more of an academic, analytical activity. But I want to hear your thoughts. And when you're responding to your peers, I want to hear your thoughts in response to what they have to say. And then also it's asking us to discuss the overlapping messages around teaching social studies in the different documents that we read this week. So while it is an academic pursuit, the discussions, the feel should be more like a discussion rather than a summary or retelling of the documents that we all read. I want to remind us about the week 7 fieldwork assignment. Really, it's due in week 7, so don't wait until week 7. So start planning ahead. We can do classroom observations, attend a local performance, check out what's happening locally in your community, a local art exhibit, visiting a potential field trip site. Now, you don't have to actually take your students on the field trip, but maybe you're going to a local museum, a train museum, something about Native Americans or indigenous cultures, an art exhibit, or any cultural event. You can interview a potential guest speaker or presenter, maybe attend an art class or a workshop. So the goal is that we get out in our community, experience the rich cultural opportunities that exist in the communities that we live and where we teach. And again, if you're going to think of it as I'm going to take my students there, you don't actually have to take your students there, but you're visiting there as like a potential place. Hey, I went and checked this place out. And when you look at the assignment, it's going to ask you to connect it back to the history social science framework. The missions, easy connection, 4th grade, social studies. And so just make sure you connect it back to the social studies or VAPA standards. Lastly is our exit ticket, pretty straightforward. You can submit the exit ticket into the text box, upload a file or record a video. When uploading files, I want to make sure if you're uploading links to Google Docs, that works. Make sure that access is updated. Preferably download it as a Word doc or a PDF and upload that, or just copy the text and paste it into the text box. That way we don't have to worry about links being broken. And that's it. I hope you found this helpful. This week, our office hour is Wednesday, every Wednesday from 6 to 7. You may also reach out to me directly with any questions at any time, or if you want to set up a one-on-one Zoom meeting. Thanks, everyone, for your attention. Looking forward to connecting with you all. Have a great week.